up to vote. We're in a whole new landscape. They took COVID and they really were able to work it to their advantage. And now we have all this stuff about, just mail-in ballots, on and on and on. And so I think election night's going to be unbelievably chaotic. And now to your question, which I wasn't avoiding, you could see a lot of machinations afterwards. I mean, even before Donald Trump was on the scene, we had obviously the election of 2000, Bush 4. And I think you're right on the money, actually, and I think you're going to see possibly that type of stuff. I'm not so sure that the Vice President of the United States is necessarily, because think about that, right? They've been screaming for years. Had absolutely no authority. Are you kidding me? Then they turn around and do it. Oh my God! But you know what? You're right. They could do that.
Okay, look, I'm not a lawyer, but I'm happy to score a point on that one.
That was a good one, yeah.
Let me take you to the other one, and that is really bothering me, and it's bothering a lot of people, and probably you as well. How they handled this Ruth guy, putting out all those basically the love letter to wanting to kill Donald Trump, and I mean, how did you unpack this? Like, you're in a federal court. This is theoretically, I guess it's in a state court, but it's going to be in a federal court, and the FBI is going to try to hide everything. I mean, how does this unpack?
All right. Well, first of all, and I think the listeners will find this comically entertaining. You have the Smith situation where they're hysterical to get the case to trial before they Ruth. They walked into court either yesterday or the day before, and they're like, we agree to an adjournment without any date. Okay, we're in no hurry whatsoever, because that's a case that ostensibly, pitches Trump as the victim of a potential violent assassination. I mean, it's just breathtaking, the double standards. Now, as far as the case itself, the case is in federal court right now, and it's interesting because there aren't a lot of federal statutes related to homicide. Homicide has always been sort of considered more of a state offense than a federal offense. However, you had a statute in there about actually trying to kill a candidate for president. So they used that. They didn't originally, by the way. They charged him with 2 gun offenses, which was fine. Obliterated serial number, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. And he would have gotten, 20 plus years or even more on that. But then they added in the assassination of a federal candidate for president. Ron DeSantis, though, jumped in. And I don't blame him. And he said, look, he violated Florida law, and it's an attempted murder under Florida law. Now, normally, these turf wars are settled by one jurisdiction goes first. If the feds are in there, usually they will go first. And the second case is sort of an insurance policy in case the first one gets reversed on an appeal. So we'll see whether Florida will do anything. But basically, it's a federal prosecution for the moment. Whether Florida is, granted the opportunity to go first, but I'm predicting that they won't, and it'll go in federal court. But nobody seems to be in a hurry to break that down. And then, of course, there's a lot of troubling aspects. Of course, it's troubling. My God, for President of the United States, 2 assassination attempts, and if you watch the media, it's just your jaw could fall open. It's just unbelievable.
What do you think about the Diddy?
Is that somebody's getting away with a lot of
satellite radio,
and then something
news station.
Investigation into them.
I like to hear the propaganda sometimes, just so I can chuckle at it. Both sides. This is Patriot Radio.
Obviously he did a lot of the charges are extremely serious. And the point is, everything's, relative in terms of legal charges. So again, they really threw the book at him big time. The more, what do you call it, media interest thing, of course, sort of by analogy to the Epstein tragedy, we'll call it.
She's on the hunt, but she's not. She's taking a break, so before anyone else gets in here, you're the only one who knows about that. But yeah, she's taking a break, but she's done a few interviews and stuff.
Obviously, mere presence under the law
because it feels like, I mean, it feels like he's getting punished without having been put.
Oh no, yeah, for sure.
And being found guilty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, being detained.
Never know.
Yeah.
A lot of times things like this turn into a positive, so we'll see.
You know, punishment has been convicted of anything. You are to be detained pre-trial for one of two reasons. Number one, you're at risk of flight, which in his case is highly debatable because A, the court could order round-the-clock security, and then B, you're a danger to the community. You know, that one can be argued in both directions, I suppose. But at the same time, you know, I think the case is a little bit hysterical. Obviously, he did a lot wrong. It's a mixed analysis, but I'm not so sure it warrants like the level that they're throwing the book at him on.
Great stuff, man. I really appreciate you being on the show with us today. I can talk to you for hours. And where do people go?
Weird argument. He's obviously a defense attorney.
Perhaps maybe they need a little bit of help out there. You know, how do folks
I'm
get
actually retired from practicing law, I'm pleased to say.
Okay, good.
It looks tired. Maybe it's the angle of the road there. I don't know.
Different channels and radio channels. I'm at Joe Barnes Law on X, where I'm relatively new to it, but I'm sure we kind of go with
Maybe because we're a higher latitude, not altitude, but latitude.
media, Hispanic
I don't think so.
Tremendous to talk to you, and I really appreciate everything you're doing. And thanks so much for spending time with us here today. We all got smarter. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're a little
Yeah, you got it. Absolutely. All right, I think I'm due for
Longitude.
Let's take a break in. I'll come back and check into some of the
No, it's
folks
latitude.
on the hold.
Longitude's up and down.
I am Brett Winkle. You're listening to Breitbart News Daily, Sirius XM Patriot 124.
And that just more proves that we're not flat. If I'm a higher latitude than you, the angle on the sun will be higher on me, depending on the tilt. It's about 45 right now for me. Just a little bit less, maybe 40. Oh no, I love to. It sounds like I think Bao's joking about it though. Bao's been to high altitudes. He knows. He's seen the curve without a fisheye lens. So everybody who goes into space these days is using a fisheye lens then, huh?
We signed on that year in March, had a really great experience. It was super easy to get going with them. And then in October of that same year, we found out that I had stage 3 breast cancer. It's very intentional how they try to bless people when they know this is one of the hardest things that they're going through.
They had 4 kids thank the Lord not only for her healing and how he provided for them, but she says it makes her emotional just realizing she gets to pay it forward.
What we put towards Medishare is going to be blessing another mom, and they're going to show up for her the way that they show up for her.
He likes to troll that though.
Call now. It's 844-57-BIBLE. That's 844-57-BIBLE. 844-57. Come back for more. So Free Pride is now giving new customers.
Friday. Me and the wife checked out a new Mexican place in town yesterday or last night. So we did date night last night, and we got a friend's birthday after work today. So I don't know if I'm running home to pick her up or. Hey, hon. Good morning.
Hopefully not unprepared podcast. We'll cover topics like doing the limbo for self-esteem, skydiving hungover to world affairs. And now you can hear every new episode a full week early on the Sirius XM app. Just search Smartless to join the fun.
Yeah. Well, we knew we had to go to this birthday. tonight, so a friend of mine's birthday. And we wanted to check it out. It's a new place. Actually, it's an older place that switched names and menus. And actually, it was really fucking good. How long does that last? I can say that it may never go. No, I'm just kidding. How often do you have to have that done? Oh, really? Wow. It just depends on how effective your leach field is. If it's a super old one, you know, they get tree roots in them and stuff like that, and they're not as effective. You have to pump more often. We just had ours done too during COVID. Everything backed up. But it was a combination of that and there was one of the main drain pipes had a clog in it, but they blasted that out. They had to go through the vent pipe on top of the house to blow it out. Then, of course, we had the water debacle this year. Fucking $8,000 for a new system. Yeah, that's why you use toilet cleaners very sparingly, because if toilet cleaners kill.
Conservative principles live here. From the global news network of Breitbart.com, this is Breitbart News Daily.
LB, good morning.
All right, I have a question for you guys, and it's a wide open question that you can certainly be a part of if you're on the line too. And our telephone number, we've got a couple of lines open to take your thoughts here at 866-95-PATRIOT, 866-95-PATRIOT.
All right, well, we're over because this guy's not.
An actual October surprise.
Whoa, that guy's in a hurry.
And if there is an October surprise, how does it manifest? Now, I want you to think about that. I think it's an important sort of question, right? Those are going to be...
Oh, that's what's this fucking idiot doing?
We've seen...
Look at this guy.
Different things, including...
Fucking lane is disappearing. He's hammering it.
That we expect. But here is something that I think... It's not necessarily something that is shocking.
Buddy letting him in up there.
Shocking. Eminem. Zach, do you know about Eminem? Eminem is going to be a grandfather. He reveals in a music video. Eminem as a grandfather? What does that look like? What does that look like? Will he raise this child, help raise this child, and then take him to the same places where he came of age? Mom's spaghetti? I mean, I don't know.
Well, we live out in the country there, I'll be. We don't get that sewer Although I get a nice bill for it, even though I don't have one.
For her May wedding are underscored by the emotional side.
Oh, I don't even have gas lines running out to my house. All I got is electricity and cable.
Eminem as grandfather. I mean, that's, I'm not saying it would be impossible. I'm just
It's
saying,
underground.
what does that look like? Can you
Shit comes to
imagine
my house underground,
But
but there's a pole in my front yard. Because it goes back into the air after it crosses my front yard.
And if you believe that that is the case, we certainly want you to give us what you think it might be. And it doesn't have to be something, space aliens or landing. It can be anything. It could be a war, an actual real war breaks out in the Middle East as opposed to the tit for tat stuff. It could be an economic catastrophe. It could be an earthquake. It could be any of these things. It could be a resignation from office, or somebody wakes up and they're not alive anymore, or any of these sorts of things. How do you think? How do you think this all comes to pass? And the reason why I look at this kind of stuff is, you can control what you can control, but you can't control the unknown, right?
Yeah, it sure does stinky.
But when you look at how fragile America is, I'm not talking about the government, I'm not talking about...
I got a big old propane tank in the backyard.
I'm talking about how fragile America is in the way
my water heater.
it is constituted.
Speaking of that, I got to get that thing filled
You
up.
just saw
Gotta remember.
John freaking Kerry sit at the World Economic Forum in New York City and say that the problem in this country is the First Amendment. What kind of a bozo is that? What kind of a bozo is that? First of all, somebody should have asked John Kerry, which part of the First Amendment? Everybody always does speech. And he was talking about speech. But let's be honest, the components of the First Amendment are the extreme. Right? The First Amendment is very easy to understand if you read it and if you take it at its
Yeah,
at its meaning.
well, she's the one that usually calls. I just pay the bill.
First Amendment of the United States.
She's the one that's usually home when they come.
Read it in the order in which it was written. People always think, you can do what you can say what you want within limits. You can do what you want within limits. No. There is
Yeah,
a
it sucks
reason
too when it
why
goes completely
Congress
dry, because then they got to come in and relight the heater.
shall
And
make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of...
Well, normally during the day we're both out, but
peaceably assemble and to petition
been
the government
changes.
for redress of grievances. The most important part of that entire phrasing is, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion. It's not the right to worship. It's religion. Religion is different than the right to worship. Remember, Barack Obama started playing games with this back when he was in the later stages of his office. And he would say, everybody can go to church. You're allowed to worship for that hour on Sunday. You can do any of that sort of stuff that you want. You got the right to worship. It's not the establishment of worship. It's the establishment of religion, that you get to choose your religion, the beliefs of that religion, or
Oh, yeah, for sure.
at all. But it is going to be protected from the tyrants.
Except for my dogs, it's pretty
and
quiet.
all of that sort of stuff.
Oh, and the fighter jets that fly over.
I do believe that
I know what you
the progressive leftists would have been more effective if they actually acknowledged what we all know, and that is that climate change is a religion, and we're supposed to tithe the religion of climate change so as to stop it from happening. But they don't want to be honest with that. They don't want to be honest with that. Rob in Pennsylvania. Rob, welcome to the program.
Well, I'm looking at chicken coops. Definitely going to be serious about doing that. They can, two-level one with an outside area. She'd rather have a goat than a donkey. I kind of wouldn't mind one myself. That way I wouldn't have to cut the grass as much. You got the goat hookup? Don't tell Skullmeyer, because we're gonna do chickens first.
I think it's great. I think that's a great one.
That's one of the few
I think I can absolutely
meat
see
protein
that.
she'll eat.
And I can absolutely see them deciding, okay, we're going to really try to bog Donald Trump down right out of the box. And that.
Registered chickens, of course you do.
But by the way,
Of course you do.
he's not inaugurated until the 20th if he gets elected. So Kamala Harris can offer up whatever she wants to offer up and make him abide by it. Yeah, that's great stuff. Good stuff, man. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate you being out there. Let's go out and talk to Bob in Arizona. Bob, it looks like Arizona's getting ready to maybe pop in the right direction. What's going on, Bob?
Yeah, I'm thinking 3 hens to start. No roosters. You don't need a rooster for eggs, so we'll see how well they survive. I might even put a little Chicken City, make a little Chicken City channel. Yeah, the baby chicks. Yeah. Yeah. Seems like a silly silly gift.
Well, that's right, because I can help you, because the left always loves collective punishment, right? You have criminals running in the streets with guns. No, we can't put them in jail because that's racist. We'll just take everybody's guns, and the bad guys are still going to have guns, right? The left loves collectivism, and they love collective punishment more than anything. Down the churches, and they were stopping you from walking in the park, and you couldn't have a birthday party with your kid in the backyard or any of that kind of stuff. They love collective punishment.
Answer my question. That's not answering my question. My question was, is how do they get away with these lies when they know they're false? The evidence they're outbound false, and it's influential.
I agree.
Possibly detrimental to certain people. It's a lie.
Oh, I mean, there's a ton of those over here, believe me. I mean, honestly, that's how they're able to produce as much as they have been in the past, but we got a lot of land here that isn't used, that can be used.
Advertisements are bold-faced lies, and they pull certain parts out. There should be a rule or a law against this lying.
Well, you got to be careful with that, because if they try to, if you decide you're going to want a law to legislate something in regards to speech, that's a little dangerous. The whole reason why I brought up the collective nature is the press is part of the collective nature. The social media platforms are part of the collective nature. This is why you only ever hear about J6 or Charlottesville, but you never hear about the cities that burned at the encouragement of mayors and governors. Like, remember, Tim Walz's wife wanted to breathe in the fumes to remember the power of the city burning in Minneapolis. Thanks to Zach and Bill and each and every one of you. If you're of a mind to, check me out on News Talk 1110, 99.3 WBT in Charlotte, North Carolina, 3 to 7 p.m. It's been a pleasure to be here. Enjoy the weekend. You've been listening to Breitbart News Daily on Sirius XM Patriot 125.
800-611-8892. 800-611-8892. 800-611-8892.
Of course he is. He wants to control everything. All right, guys. We'll see how it is as far as the desktop stream. I'd like to, though. Peace. Love you guys.